Well, technical difficulties always getting in my way. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our show. Let me make sure there we go. All right, rough start, but here we are. Welcome to my live stream, and sorry for that technical problem there. Okay, we had a verdict yesterday in the Danny Masterson case. That is now done. Tony Ortega and I did a live stream yesterday about that. Danny Masterson is now cooling his heels in jail, and he will be sentenced and sent to prison, and that is now finalized, and we are very, very happy about that. Very happy. In fact, today I woke up so exhilarated. I'm just really, and of course, I'm just a spectator. I'm just a guy watching this from the sides. I can't even imagine how happy everybody who's really involved with this thing is. Kudos, by the way, to the district attorneys who did this work. They really brought a much better case second time around on this, and the jury obviously responded favorably. So, hey, everybody in the chat here. Yeah, he's going to prison. Now, Scientology, the Church of Scientology issued an official response. And I figured, well, I don't do response videos. I really don't. I'm not somebody who just throws on live and let's go. But, this is pretty hot stuff. And this is pretty right along the lines of the things I like to talk about with you guys and help kind of show behind the scenes what's going on with this group, the Church of Scientology? Who are these people and what are they about? And having been a member for as many decades as I was, I have some insight into that. And so it's always, I try to be helpful and educational in bringing information to you guys about this stuff. So, God, I just have so many things to talk about, and I'm trying to make this quick. I don't want to, I'm not trying to be on for hours or anything today. But I did have some points I wanted to make in regards to this response from the church. And it's always so interesting hearing their PR statements these days, and really over time, how, let's go ahead and throw the comments up there, how ham-fisted they are, like just how unaware the Church of Scientology seems to be about their public perception problem. And they have a huge problem. It's not just people don't really know what Scientology is about. People are absolutely convinced that Scientology is a toxic, abusive group. And they should be, because it is. Again, having been part of it for decades, I can speak to all levels of that. And I wanted to sort of let everybody know from the get-go here that on this channel, on my channel here, is a library of information for you to go through and look at that is very timely, that is evergreen content. It's not based on news events or anything. Like I said, I don't do these response videos very often. There's a lot of content here for you to dive into, to figure out and understand what destructive cults like Scientology are all about. And they're not, and it's not good. These are high control authoritarian groups. They're totalist groups, meaning these are groups that seek to actually control every aspect of your life. It's not just about going to church on Sundays. It's not just about a worship service, or it's not just about some rules for your life. Scientology seeks to extract maximum amounts of money from its members. That's what it's really all about. And the rules and the systems of control and the authority system of Scientology are all kind of aligned in that direction. That's what it's all about. So the control that Scientology exerts on its membership is not just to protect its VIPs or its celebrities or its principal figures. It's even about extracting money and control from them. Tom Cruise has no idea that David Miscavige and Scientology are only in it for his money and his influence and his reach. That's what it's really all about at the end of the day. So those kind of things kind of just need to be said out loud from time to time. So I thought I would kind of start off with that because we need to be clear that Scientology is presents itself as a applied religious philosophy, which has a tool set that will allow anybody to come in, learn these tools, and improve conditions in their life. That's their PR line. That's the window dressing of Scientology. That's not what it really is. It is all about controlling your life, controlling your connections, controlling your behavior, and ultimately controlling your thinking, right? All in the direction of extracting money and time and resources from you. So, no, I don't think they destroyed Masterson's PC folder, Anthony. Okay, so I have a few things to show and tell today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on it. And I really, by the way, I'm blown away right now by the interest in this stuff. The video that Tony and I posted yesterday is already over 10,000 views, and for my channel, that is quite impressive. And I can see hundreds here watching right now. So thank you very much for coming around and checking this out. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've prepared some quotes and some slides here for you guys. So let's take a look first at the church's response to this case. This was posted by the Stand Monitor account on Twitter last night. Apparently that's where this they decide to do their press briefings is on Twitter. So here's the Church of Scientology statement, May 31st, 2023. And this statement, as you can see, goes all into protecting and giving, sort of PR air cover to Scientology. This is not about Masterson. This is about Scientology being introduced into the case. And Scientology was a very, very big part of the prosecution's case because Scientology staff acted to cover up Danny Masterson's crimes and prevent the victims. They discouraged and heavily pushed the victims of Masterson to not go to the police and not testify. So the prosecution's, here's what they said. The prosecution's introduction of religion into this trial was an unprecedented violation of the First Amendment and affects the due process rights of every American. The church was not a party to this case, and religion did not belong in this proceeding, as Supreme Court precedent has maintained for centuries. The district attorney unconscionably centered his prosecution on the defendant's religion and fabrications about the church to introduce prejudice and inflame bigotry. The DA elicited testimony and descriptions of Scientology beliefs and practices which were uniformly false. Okay, we will be discussing that in a moment. The court's statement of church doctrine was her own invention, dead wrong, all capitals, and blatantly unconstitutional. The church has no policy prohibiting or discouraging members from reporting criminal conduct of anyone, Scientologists or not, to law enforcement. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. Quite the opposite. Church policy explicitly demands Scientologists abide by all laws of the land. All allegations to the contrary are totally false, all capitals. There is not a scintilla. I love the use of this word. There is not a scintilla of evidence supporting the scandalous allegations that the church harassed the accusers. Every single instance of supposed harassment by the church is false and has been debunked. Okay. So we have some more slides to go over, but first I just got to say, dude, come on. I mean, wow. You definitely don't get to see scintilla very often, but this is obviously here. This is an attempt to head off the civil suit that they are now embroiled in, and which the Church of Scientology is a named defendant in. The Jane Does, and I'll still refer to them collectively as that. I believe they have now posted out publicly as under their actual names. But the victims, Masterson's victims, have brought a civil suit against the Church of Scientology and Danny Masterson for stalking and harassment of them during the proceeds of this trial and the pre-trial leading up to it. So they have whatever evidence and information they're going to bring into that case, into that civil suit against Scientology. And this is Scientology's position. Officially is no, there has been not one bit of stalking or harassment or anything like that. And of course, we know from the church's history, which we have even video evidence of going back to Marty Rathbun and them stalking him. Remember the Squirrel Busters? Remember those guys? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about what's called fair game policy. This is Church of Scientology policy written by L. Ron Hubbard to go after critics or enemies of the church, people who are counter-intention to Scientology's efforts. And having already mentioned to you that Scientology's efforts are to extract the maximum amount of money and influence from the maximum number of people it can, anything that gets in the way of that on the part of, from the viewpoint of the Church of Scientology, is out ethics. This is an important term to understand when you are looking into Scientology, is ethics. Scientology has an entire system of ethics, and I believe I have put today in the show notes in the description section here. Yeah, I put a link to a live stream I did a while back, breaking down and showing point by point Scientology's ethics and justice system and how it applies to Danny Masterson. It's a very mafia-like setup. They protect their earners. And Masterson and other celebrities in Scientology are earners, if you understand mafia speak. They're people who are producing. In Scientology, the term for that is upstat. You are an upstat. You are somebody who produces. You bring in the money. You bring in the people. You have influence and clout, and people will listen to you. And celebrities are all about that. That's literally the definition of celebrity. So that's what Scientology is trying to do. So with this statement today, this is all sort of like, oh my God, he was found guilty. That means that legally speaking, the data that was given in the trial, in Masterson's trial, about church staff members is now legal truth. What they said to those victims, how they kept them from reporting to the police, how they paid them off, all of that is now considered legal fact. That's the truth as far as the court is concerned, and that's a big deal. Because criminal cases have been few and far between when it comes to Scientology. Most of what we've talked about for years have been civil suits, efforts to take Scientology to task civilly, meaning that there will be monetary outcomes, not criminal outcomes. And here, this civil case is no different in terms of that. But here with Masterson, we have a criminal case that Scientology has now been implicated in. There is not necessarily going to be criminal prosecution brought against those people who were named in the Masterson case, but that information could be utilized, as I understand it. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm really just talking as a layperson here. But as I understand it, the information that was given in this trial can be used by law enforcement officials to pursue further investigations against Scientology. And we know already that there is a grand jury that has been formed and that has been in process for a couple years now, directed toward Scientology. So that's the kind of thing that has David Miscavige sweating at night and losing sleep, is what's coming next. Scientology was not implicated or was not on trial in the Masterson case, but what's coming. Right? All depends on what the FBI and other law enforcement agencies choose to do. But now that this has gone through, this is a big deal. And that's part of why this statement from the church. So let's go ahead and, hey, everybody, I see you guys in the comments here. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Totally usable by all official investigations. So let's go ahead and get into debunking this statement from the church, because that's pretty much the primary reason why I'm going live today, to talk about this nonsense from the church. So Here is, so first off, let's go back. Here is the statement. And then we have, I decided to go just do a little Googling. And this came from U.S. What was this? uscourt.gov, I believe. This is an official government site. And this quote, the third paragraph, addresses this claim that Scientology is making that their religion was being put on trial. And then it was a violation of the First Amendment. That's the claim being made in their statement is, hey, this is a violation of First Amendment exercise of free religion. Well, if you look at this quote here, it says the Free Exercise Clause protects citizens' right to practice their religion as they please, so long as the practice does not run afoul of a, quote, public morals or a compelling governmental interest. Okay, and it cites an example here having to do with inoculating kids. Okay, let's come back there. Yeah, so compelling public interest, moral problem, criminal activity. Let's go ahead, because when I started Googling for criminal cover-up and religion and First Amendment and was sort of doing a little bit of research on this, all that came up were articles about the Catholic Church for what should be obvious reasons. And I am not trying to in any way decry or get down on people for believing whatever they want to believe. That's in fact the entire point. Is it's not about your beliefs. It's not about Scientology's beliefs. Nobody put the ARC triangle or the communication formula or Xenu on trial. That's not what happened here. What happened is individual Scientology staff members took actions to cover up criminal activity on the part of other Scientologists. That has nothing to do with religious belief. That has to do with action in the real world that isn't even informed necessarily by the belief. It's action of a criminal nature, criminal intent. This is important. And this is what Scientology is trying to backpedal away from and distract from and misdirect using the First Amendment. Oh, we're a religion. You can't put a religion on trial. Well, you're absolutely right. You can't put a religion on trial, but you can put religious figures on trial. Just because you're a pastor, a priest, a nun, a religious leader, an MAA, an ethics officer, a chaplain of Scientology, doesn't mean you are immune from prosecution under criminal law. Doesn't mean that. And that's exactly what Scientology is trying to get away with in this statement, is they are saying, oh no, we're a religion. You can't bring our practices and our beliefs into the courtroom. Well, you can if it's involved with criminal activity. You bet you can. In the same way that you could put a pedophile on trial, and should, who just happens to have a Catholic, dog collar on, you absolutely can and should prosecute those people because what they did is criminal. And that's not protected by the First Amendment. Period. Inarguably. There's not even like a question about this. So again, so to say that, this is all about Scientology's beliefs and they violated the First Amendment is just blatant bullshit, to be honest. Okay. So, okay, cool. Thank you. I'm just looking at some of the comments as I go. Sorry if I get a little distracted. Okay, so that's the public morals argument, right? Is you don't have the right to break the law in the practice of your religion. This is important. In fact, this is crucial to understand. Now, the other thing is there was a statement here also made about, let's take a look at this here. The church has no policy prohibiting or discouraging members from reporting criminal conduct of anyone. That is a lie. And let's go ahead and examine this in more detail. Here I have pulled a page from a book called The Introduction to Scientology Ethics. This book is a manual on Scientology's ethics and justice system. This is church scripture you are now looking at. This is religious dogma right here on the screen. These are called suppressive acts. You can see that on the top right there. Suppressive acts. That's the section of the policy that is being shown here. Each one of these things would be considered in Scientology to be a violation of their rules to such a gross and grave extent that they will kick you out of the church for doing these things. This is suppressive person material. This is the kind of thing, let me just come back to me for a second. This is the kind of stuff that's going to get you kicked out of the church, declared suppressive. It's an actual label that they give you, and they write a formal issue declaring you suppressive, and here you go, and you're disconnected, and you're shunned, and you're out of here. And fine, if you want to have rules, you want to have regulations, you want to, say who can be a member and who can't, of course any group has a right to do that. But you don't have a right to then go misrepresent what those rules actually say. And in looking at this, we can see, pull this back up here. Now near the bottom are the applicable suppressive acts to this business of court reporting. Public disavowal of Scientology or Scientologists in good standing with Scientology organizations. Public statements against Scientology or Scientologists, but not to committees of evidence duly convened. In other words, a committee of evidence is an internal Scientology justice body. So you don't have the right to make public statements against Scientology or Scientologists unless you're doing it in a committee of evidence. That's pretty powerful. Let's see here. Pronouncing Scientology guilty of the practice of standard Scientology. And finally, testifying hostilely before state or public inquiries into Scientology to suppress it. Now, from Scientology's point of view, Danny Masterson's victims violated at least 3 of those points by publicly testifying against Danny Masterson, by going into a court of law, by going into a police station, by making public reports, because police reports are public reports. You are violating these suppressive acts. You are committing what are called suppressive acts. And the women testified to this fact during this trial. That's all they did. They said, we were told we can't go do this. We know as Scientologists, when we were Scientologists, that we cannot go and report this stuff. You cannot even sue somebody in a civil court in Scientology. You can't sue another Scientologist without the authorization and okay of officials of Scientology. You have to get permission from a guy whose post title, whose job duty is called International Justice Chief. Yeah, there's an International Justice Chief. So this is very, very important information, because those are the dogma or the policy of Scientology, what I just read you. So no, it doesn't say don't cooperate with law enforcement officials, because it doesn't have to. It doesn't say don't break the law, because it doesn't have to. All you have to know is you don't have the right to go make statements about other Scientologists to law enforcement without the church's okay. You are committing a suppressive act as a Scientologist in doing that. And as the Jane Doe said on the stand in the trial, and I think Claire mentioned this as well as an expert witness, you're going to get booted. Right? You know this is a fact in Scientology. And if you get declared, this means you lose all those connections. If you work for a Scientologist, you're fired. If you're married to a Scientologist, here's your divorce papers. If your kids are Scientologists, they disown you. It's that simple. And it is that direct. It's that hardcore. There is no gray area when it comes to suppressive people in Scientology. You don't you don't get to stay halfway connected or sort of connected to a suppressive person. Once they're declared, that's it. And the steps to come back into the church after you've been declared, the ladder back in is steep. It's a tough ladder to climb. There are a whole series of steps. I've done a whole video about it. Again, in my library of information here on my channel, right, which I will endlessly pimp to you guys. That's where you can find this stuff. I've broken it all down in earlier videos, and it's a years-long process. You don't ask for forgiveness in Scientology, and somebody comes along and gives you 3 Hail Marys, and and hits you with some rosary beads, and you're back in. It's not even like the Jehovah's Witnesses, where you get to go sit in the back of the hall and not talk to anybody. No, it's total. It's complete. Again, Scientology is a totalist system. It's all or nothing. It's incredibly black and white thinking in Scientology. Thank you, boxing guy Brian, for that. Yeah. Do I think this verdict in the upcoming civil case will open the floodgates on the other fair game cases? Possibly. Okay. It's all kind of a crapshoot when it comes to predicting legal. Who knows? Because it requires, there's so many hurdles to climb, to cross over or overcome in order to bring a legal case against Scientology. And let's keep perspective here. These women and this civil case, this is going to drag out. This is not going to be a fast thing. Scientology, as Tony said yesterday, Scientology's already filed or intends to file an anti-SLAPP motion. That's going to delay this civil case for like a year. There's going to be all kinds of back and forth and wrangling, and Scientology has the money to delay this thing. So it's going to take, it is a real knockdown drag out. And the other thing is the religious arbitration problem. And when you sign contracts in Scientology, that you will take any problems you have with the church to religious arbitration as carried out by Scientology, rather than take them to a civil suit. And that's so far, that has been a very, very difficult legal challenge to overcome. Thank you, Calico26, for your super chat as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back into this with, get back into our quotes. So we went over the high crimes. So it is a high crime to testify against other Scientologists. I think we're pretty clear on that point. The next thing is what I wanted to cover, actually, is Scientology's attitude towards the law in the first place. And this is just kind of fundamental to understand where Scientology is coming from. It is almost laughably bad to see this statement from Scientology that they are hiding behind the First Amendment, and how dare this judge violate the First Amendment, when this is more of their written dogma about the law. L. Ron Hubbard wrote in 1955, the purpose of the suit, this is talking about bringing legal suits against enemies of Scientology or church attackers. The purpose of the suit is to harass and discourage rather than win. The law can be used very easily to harass. And enough harassment on somebody who's simply on the thin edge anyway will generally be sufficient to cause professional decease. If possible, of course, ruin him utterly. Okay, this is infamously quoted. I have cited this many, many times over the years because it is the attitude of Scientology towards its attackers or its critics. Ruin them, destroy them. They do not deserve to live. They do not deserve to even exist. They are they are characterized within the world of Scientology as enemies of mankind. Not just bad people, not just people with a chip on their shoulder, enemies of mankind. That's what it means to be a suppressive person. And of course, from a Scientologist point of view, anybody who attacks Scientology is suppressive. Obviously. Pardon me while I usually have a Coke, but today I'm drinking some Kool-Aid. So, pardon me. Doing a lot of talking here. Okay. So I just wanted to offer that as a little bit of like, where are they coming from in the first place? You got to understand that the Church of Scientology does not respect law enforcement at all. At all. They don't like law. They don't like the police. They don't like the FBI. They don't like the government. There are lots and lots of conspiracies in Scientology, conspiracy theories about those groups and about the governments and about official bodies and how they are all against Scientology, trying to take it out, trying to destroy it, because, of course, Scientology is the only thing in this world, they think, that is doing any good, that is saving society. And so anybody who is against it is, of course, a bad person. And, of course, we know also that Scientology plays nice with law enforcement to get them on their side so that things can go well for them, so that they get a heads up, so that they get access to discovery materials, so that they can be protected from even having to go into a court of law in the first place. But they're only playing nice. It's not like they really like the police. They hate them. Scientology doesn't like people who are not Scientologists. I mean, I can speak from personal experience on this, right? Years of it. We were distrustful. We didn't trust or want to associate with or have much to do with people who are not Scientologists unless we could get them on board and make them Scientologists. That was the entire effort. Okay. So finally, the other one that I have for you here is this other quote. Yes, this has to do also with litigation. Church uses litigation as a cover for intimidation tactics. This is, and I just pulled these quotes right off the Wikipedia page on Scientology and the law. There's a whole Wikipedia page about this. So here's the quote from L. Ron Hubbard from 1966. This is correct procedure. 1, spot who is attacking us. 2, start investigating them promptly for felonies or worse, using own professionals, not outside agencies. In other words, do not go to the police. Use our private investigators, that sort of thing. 3, double curve our reply by saying we welcome an investigation of them. 4, start feeding lurid blood, sex, crime, actual evidence on the attackers to the press. Don't ever tamely submit to an investigation of us. Make it rough on attackers all the way. All right, so here we are back. So that is, again, the Attitude of Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. When I have talked about from day one of posting videos on this channel, going back 9 years ago, that Scientology is, that L. Ron Hubbard's vindictive nature is built into Scientology's policies. These are the exact kind of quotes I was thinking about when I said that. It's just an inescapable fact that L. Ron Hubbard was a very vindictive man. If you attacked him, if you criticized him in any way for anything, not just Scientology stuff, but even as a writer, he would tear into you and he wouldn't stop until you were a crying, shambling little mound of tears on the ground. That was who L. Ron Hubbard was. He did not want anyone questioning him or attacking him or criticizing him or his ideas. And he wrote that into the policies of Scientology. So if anybody in Scientology ever has a problem with what's going on in Scientology, this is basically how they get treated. It's rough. It really is rough. And this is the basis of what that quote I just read to you is the basis of a lot of the fair game actions, the retaliation that Scientology takes against its critics. It doesn't really, the members of Scientology, it doesn't really matter what they individually think or feel about Scientology's critics or its perceived enemies. They might be like, hey, man, it's okay. No big deal. Let's, turn the other cheek this time. Let's not go after them. No. You don't get to have that attitude in Scientology because L. Ron Hubbard's policies are crystal clear. So when David Miscavige issues a statement, and it didn't really have anybody's name on it, but we all know where these things come from. And when the Church of Scientology or David Miscavige issue these statements saying that there is no policy in Scientology saying you can't cooperate with law enforcement or report crimes, we now know that's total horseshit. Just in a word, it's just wrong, right? And when they say that it's a violation of the First Amendment to bring Scientology into a courtroom, that's not true. There is nothing about that statement that they made that actually has any truth connected with it. And that was what I wanted to respond to today. And I didn't want to, go on for a real long time with this, but that's basically what I had to put out for you guys today. So that all being said, what a day today, right? What a day. I mean, for us in the Scientology watching or critic community, for those of us who have been rooting on, hoping for justice for these victims, this is Celebration Central. We are all very, very happy about this. And I couldn't be happier for the victims of Danny Masterson to get their day of justice. So now we will see what rolls forward. I am really hopeful that the FBI and perhaps the California, district attorney or the county district attorney are now looking a little more closely into other things connected with Scientology, because clearly this case shone a spotlight on some very unsavory activities on the part of the church and its staff members. I mean, we have names, we have quotes, we have information as to what they did with these victims. And this is not all ancient history from, 2003. This is current activity. And the civil suit, of course, attest to that fact. And we have other suits. In Florida, we have that human trafficking suit, and we have Valerie Haney's suit, and these are the ones that are caught up in that religious arbitration bullshit. So it's not necessarily an easy struggle or an easy time to take Scientology to task legally. It is very effective to do what we're doing here. And please carry on with the legal stuff, but let's also know that the much bigger blow to Scientology and its advance into our society has been accomplished through documentaries, Going Clear, Scientology in the Aftermath, as a couple examples, numerous media reports and exposés, and lots and lots and lots of YouTube videos by me and other people. And of course, Tony Ortega's sort of relentless daily reporting that's been going on for well over a decade now against Scientology. So, this is a fight that we are okay. Yeah, seeing some arguments going on in the comments there. Okay. We all are part of this fight, and this fight has been the effective thing in lowering the membership of Scientology. It's shrinking. It's going down. And it's only going to continue doing that. I really don't see a Scientology renaissance in any kind of near future scenario. So anyway, this is all very good news. And with all that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. I can't believe I have almost 1,000 people watching this stream right now. This is kind of awesome. Thank you very much for coming around, guys. And let me again encourage you to check out the entire library of information I have here on my channel. It is evergreen content. It was always produced to be that way, and it was always produced to be a library of information that y'all could access to understand what destructive cults like Scientology are all about, how they are formed, how to get out of them, how to help your friends and family who might be stuck in them to get out, and then how to recover from it. There's a ton of information on this channel about recovery. So I hope you guys will check all of that out. And with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for today. Thanks very much for coming around, guys. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.